Hey guys, Michael Hyatt here. Hope you're doing well. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm going to plug this mic back in and tell me loud. Is that all right? Hey guys, it's Labor Day here in the U.S., but I'm working a little bit today trying to catch up on some budget stuff from this last week. Hope you're having a great day wherever you're from. Again, my name is Michael Hyatt. This is the Virtual Mentor Show. My goal is to give you the clarity, the confidence, and the tools you need to win at work and to succeed at life. And today we're going to be talking about how to recover from a very bad day. Ever had one of those? I hope it's not happening to you today. But it does happen from time to time. And I think we've got to learn how to deal with those days if we're going to make forward progress and keep our momentum. So I'm going to spend about 30 minutes talking about this on today's scope. First 15 minutes, I'll give you the content based on my blog post today, which, by the way, you can find at vmentor.tv/recover. vmentor.tv/recover. It's today's blog post. So I hope you'll take a second to read that. But I'll go for about 15 minutes on the content that I'll do for Q&A for about 15 minutes. Again, if you don't know me, my name is Michael Hyatt. I'm the author of Platform Get Noticed in a Noisy World. I'm a virtual mentor. I blog at michaelhyatt.com. I also have a podcast on iTunes called This Is Your Life, and you can find it on iTunes just by searching for my name there. So welcome. Guys, where are you from? You've probably been doing that in the comments, but I haven't had a chance to look. And by the way, I hope you'll give me a lot of hearts. Do you know that you can give me 500 hearts per session? It's true. I dare you to get to that many. It'd be awesome if you do. Just double tap on the screen, triple tap. Sometimes I get going with 2 fingers with the people I listen to and like. Manchester, UK, Minneapolis, aloha from Maui. Oh, I wished I were there. Hi from Mexico, North Carolina, Bill from Stafford, VA, South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley. Bet it's hot down there. Pretty hot here too. Seattle, Veronica, how are you doing? Los Angeles, Moscow. Hi from San Diego. Montgomery, Alabama, Rochester. Anika from Dubai, welcome. Somebody else from Dubai, welcome. Washington, D.C. Sue, hey Sue. Greenville, South Carolina, Rochester, New York, Frisco. Awesome. So again, this scope is going to be on the topic, how to recover from a really bad day. And let me just tell you a little bit about how I came across this concept. So last year, during our Best Year Ever promotion, by the way, how many of you guys have been through my 5 Days to Your Best Year Ever course? It's not open for registration right now. It'll open in December. But last year we had about 8,000 people sign up. If you were one of those, I'd love to hear in the comments. Just give me your name and say yes. Again, we had about 8,000 people sign up for Best Year Ever last year, and we had incredible reports of people getting transformation this year. Yep, Drew says it was great. Yes, Tanny Chambers, hey Tanny. Awesome, Andy, yes. Stacy, yes. Chris, best yet. John, yes. Well, for those of you that bought it, I hope you're having your best year ever. But there was a day in the promotion when it wasn't my best day ever. So what happened is we developed this curriculum based on a need we thought we saw in the marketplace. We kept getting an email from people saying, I'd love to take my team through this. So we thought, oh my gosh, that's opportunity knocking at the door, and we need to create a leaders edition of the Best Year Ever so that leaders like you could take their teams through it. So we filmed the thing. We spent, maybe $15,000 filming several videos of that edition, the leaders edition. We created the workbook. We designed a beautiful sales page. And then we did a soft launch in about the middle of December just to see what the response would be. Then we would tweak it and do a hard launch later in the month. Do you know how many orders we got? How many orders do you think we got? And again, we sold 8,000 of Best Year Ever. How many orders do you think we got in the soft launch? If you know, just put a number down. 30,000. Man, I wish 400, that would have been awesome. 500, I'll guess 7, 2, 1, Vinny says, because Vinny read the blog. It's exactly right. We got 1 order. I mean, I was totally mystified by this, because usually if I publish something, you know, I'm going to get a lot of orders. I mean, it may not be, you know, 8,000, but I would have thought for sure that I would have had several hundred orders on this without hardly trying. You know, and honestly, I put a lot of effort into the video, so I knew it was a great product. Again, the sales page was beautiful. So I said to my web developer, Andrew, I said, dude, is there something broken on the back end? How could we only get 1 order? You know, I think I could have been selling dog food and got more orders than that. How is it possible that we only got 1 order? He said, well, let me try. So he put an order through himself, just a test order, went all the way through. Got the automated emails, the replies, the download links, all that stuff. I went, well, there goes my theory. That's working. So we talked amongst ourselves and we said, okay, maybe the messaging on the sales page is wrong. So let's completely retool that. It's too late to retool the product. The product's already done, and I didn't really think it was the product. I thought it was the way we were pitching it. So we retooled the messaging, and we did another soft launch. You know how many orders we got this time? With the new and improved page? I'm going to tell you. 0. A big, fat goose egg. I mean, I was sitting there sick, honestly, because I had probably spent, I don't know, maybe $25,000 by this point. I, by the way, made a very rookie error in doing this, but it was not a very good day. It was a horrible day. And again, for those of you just tuning in, we're attempting to sell the Leaders Edition for my 5 days to your best year ever, so that leaders like you could take their team through it. But we'd made a huge mistake, and I'm going to tell you what that is in a minute. But I was sick. I was sick because we'd spent the money, and so now we had a sunk cost, and there was no way that we were going to recover it, at least right then. But worst, we had quite a bit of revenue projected as a result of that launch, and now we're not going to see that come to fruition. It all worked out, but at the moment, it just seemed horrible. Yes, I fell flat on my face. Lesson to come, Sarah. Exactly right. So, yeah. So not everything I do works. That may be a shock to you, but honestly, not everything that I do works. I'm not usually very public with it. You know, I'm sharing it with you on Scope today. I've had a lot of failures in my life. But what I'm going to share with you today is a way to recover from those failures so that you don't drag it. Yes, I am human. So I don't drag it into the past. Now, let me just ask you, before I share that with you, what do you think was the mistake that I made? Again, it was a rookie mistake. Don't give me too much credit. This was really a stupid blunder, but what was the rookie mistake that I made in the launch of this Leaders Edition for Best Year Ever? You want to guess? Tanny, you are a genius, girl. You didn't ask. That's exactly right. Chris had it too, assuming it would work. I just felt like at this point we had so much unbelievable momentum from Best Year Ever. It had been so received in the marketplace. I just thought I could sit in my ivory tower here in Tennessee, cook up a Leaders Edition, video it, create a sales page without asking my prospective customers. Hashtag dumb. Hashtag really dumb. I completely missed the boat. Now, I think we actually just missed it in the positioning of it, and I'm not giving up on this product yet, but I promise you this, I'm not spending another nickel until I get input from my customers to know how I can create a product that they would actually use. They had no vested interest in it, they had no ownership, they had no voice in it, and so I basically created this product in a vacuum. Now, somebody said, what would you have asked? I would have asked, here's what I would have said. I would have gone out on my blog and I would have said, hey, we're thinking about creating a Leaders Edition. What do you think would make this great? If we were to create it, what would be helpful to you as a leader in taking your team through it? Surveys are awesome. They absolutely are awesome. Bonjour from Paris, Julia. Good to see you. So, yeah, so I've screwed this up more times than I'd like to admit, but the best products come out of user feedback. When I ask my customers what they want, sometimes I'm surprised. But for me to ask, what are their aspirations? What are their frustrations? And get feedback before I create the product. Now, I got to tell you about a book I've been reading. It's totally related to this, and it's where I got all this stuff on how to recover from a bad day. And again, if you haven't read my blog for today, you can find it at michaelhyatt.com, or here's the short link, thementor.tv/recover. And it's my overview of this new book by Brené Brown called Rising Strong. If you've read this book already, give me a yes in the comments. I love all things Brené Brown. I listened to her Power of Vulnerability seminar on audible.com. I've read her books, and this is the most recent one. It just came out, and it debuted at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. Totally worth reading. You've got to read this. You can get the Audible version, which is what I'm listening to. I haven't quite finished it yet. You can read the hardcover. You want to see something cool? It's even autographed. I didn't get it autographed. My wife went to her event here, along with all my daughters. All 5 of my daughters and my wife, Gail, went to the event. They got autographed copies of it. One of the cool things about it that I love is it's got these really cool plates in it, like these sayings. And it says, like, the truth is that falling hurts. The dare is to keep being brave and feel your way back up. Or here's another one. This one I actually quoted on my blog today. See that right there? Okay, let me read it to you. The middle is messy, but it's also where the magic happens. Okay, so let me tell you how the magic happens. So here are 3 steps that you can use to recover from a really bad day. The title, Nancy, is Rising Strong, subtitled The Reckoning, the Rumble, and the Revolution by Dr. Brené Brown. Okay, so if you've had a really bad day in the last week, I don't care what happened, give me a yes, because it's only going to be relevant if you've had a bad day recently or you think you might have one before the year's out. Sorry I had to block somebody there. Love doing that. Yes, yes, yes. So many have had a bad day. Well, you're not alone. That's the good news. It happens to the best of us. Yes, 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 quite a few. Okay, so here are 3 steps how to recover from a bad day. Number 1, recognize that it's a bad day. Okay? I mean, it's that simple. And by the way, if you haven't shared this on Twitter, I'm going to encourage you to do that. Share this scope on Twitter. Just scroll left to right if you're on an iOS device like an iPhone or an iPad, or bottom to top if you're on an Android device. Click the share button and share this out, because somebody you know needs to hear this message. Okay? Step number 1, recognize it. It doesn't do any good to live in denial. And I see so many people who drag the past into the present, and worse, into the future, because they don't recognize it. They refuse to acknowledge it. They're playing a game of pretend in their head. So when you've had a bad day, sometimes the best thing you can just say is, you know what, today sucked. Or that day last week sucked. I mean, just to be honest with it, recognize it. It doesn't do any good to gloss over it. I'm going to tell you what else you can do with it here in a minute, but just acknowledge it. Recognize it for what it is. And Brené is great about that in this book, Rising Strong, and she gives you some great tools to handle it. Yeah, maybe I recognize it too much, somebody said. That can happen. I always deny my bad days, always. Well, I don't want to leave you in denial, and I don't want to just leave you in recognition. That's not enough either, just to recognize, gosh, that was a bad day. It was really terrible, and, woe is me. That's not where I'm going to leave you, but that's where it starts. So what to do once you recognize it? That's the question, isn't it? That leads us to step number 2. Reframe it. Okay? So now you have to reframe it. Maybe that day was bad, but here's what is counterproductive, is if you begin to internalize it. And for example, in that story that I told you about when I blew it with creating the Leaders Edition for Best Year Ever, and it wasn't successful, here's what I could have said to myself. I could have said, that product launch failed. Therefore, I'm a failure. I could have let that action sink into my identity and begin to define me. Would that have been helpful? Yes or no? No. It would not have been helpful at all. So you've got to reframe it, and you've got to put it in perspective. So if recognizing it is what you do with the past, reframing it is what you must do in the present. You've got to reframe it. If you agree with that, give me some hearts. Give me the double tap, the triple tap. I'll take them all. But this is what happens. We've got to reframe it so that we don't let it soak into our identity, because everything that we do in life flows out of, listen to me, who we think we are. And if we think we're a failure, our actions are going to lead to failure. So we can't internalize it. We can't appropriate it. We can say, yeah, I failed. And that's all that happened to me in the creation of that product. I failed. That's all. We missed it. My team failed. But it's okay. I still have a genius team, and I think I'm pretty creative. We'll figure it out. In fact, we spent a lot of time really trying to understand what went wrong, understand how we could fix it going forward. So it was very liberating, but framing it is important. Have you been trying to lose weight and you've been unable to do it? Reframe it. It doesn't mean that you're just big boned, that you're never going to lose this weight, that you're just doomed to be fat or to be overweight. No, it just means you haven't found the right strategy yet. That's all. Or are you trying to accomplish a business goal and you've been stuck and you can't accomplish it? It's okay. It's okay. Just reframe it, and especially dial down the emotion and pay real attention to the words that are coming out of your mouth. So often, our words ensnare us. We make it much bigger than it is. I could have said, when that product failed, I could have said, oh my God, this is the end. And by the way, I tend to go there. Especially late at night when I'm tired, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've lost my mojo. The business is going to fail. I'm going to be, sleeping under a bridge somewhere in a cardboard box. I mean, it doesn't take much for me to get there either. So if you feel that way when you fail, you're not alone. So the first step, recognize it. The second step is reframe it. And one has to do with the past. The other has to do with the present. And here's the third step. And I love this. Rewrite it. Okay, here's the deal. Your past, I've said this so many times, your past does not equal your future. Okay? So just because I failed with the launch of the Best Year Ever edition, does that mean that product is just snake bit, that it's doomed, that it's cursed, that it can never be resurrected? Heck, no. Absolutely. In fact, I'm more committed to that product than ever because I want to help people lead their teams. I just got to figure out the right strategy. So you can rewrite the ending. This is one of the great things that you and I get to do as humans. This is one of the things that separates us from the animals, is that we have the ability to write a story, write our own story, and determine the outcomes by the choices that we make in the present. So to rewrite it, not be stuck on what's going to happen in the future based on what we experienced in the past and how we framed it, but to recognize it, reframe it, and then to rewrite it, to rewrite what the ending is so that there's a positive outcome. So I'm going to leave you again with this quote in terms of this content section, then I'll take questions. The middle is messy, Brené Brown says in this book, Rising Strong, from which I got all this good content. The middle is messy, but it's also where the magic happens. So what questions do you have for me? If you've got a question, give me your name in all caps in the comment section, and give me a couple of question marks so that I know it's a question, and then I'll read your question, I'll recognize you, and it'll all be good. If it says broadcast is too full, because we got a lot of people on today, I'm shocked given that it's Labor Day in the U.S., but given how many people that we have on, if it says the broadcast is too full, you can X out, come back in. You might have to do that 4 or 5 times, but usually you can get in and comment. Yes, Sarah says, how awesome is the power of choice? It is amazing. It's one of the most significant God-given things that we have to choose a different future. Margaret McSweeney. Hey, Margaret. What has been your biggest failure you have rewritten? I think when I went through a business failure in the 90s, I remember literally after all the furniture in our business had been repossessed by the bank, after all of our customers, we'd lost them, after we had to let go all of our employees, and I was sitting in what was our business, or our building, on the floor with no furniture with my business partner, Robert Walgamuth. We were crying, literally. It was us and a phone. We had one of those old-fashioned phones, that's wired to the wall. And we're sitting there. The phone was the only thing we had left. And it would have been real easy for me to say, I guess business isn't for me. I'm not any good at it. We let this business fail. But we let that inform the future. And we rewrote it. I went on to be the CEO and the chairman of Thomas Nelson Publishers. Robert went on to be a very successful literary agent, and it was hugely helpful to our growth. One of those experiences, by the way, that I would never want to repeat, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. You probably got some experiences like that too. Yeah, Sarah says, what kind of phone? Yeah, a hardwired one. Okay, say hello to Brazil. Hey, Brazil. How does a business rewrite its first impression? Well, the good thing is that the first impression usually isn't the final impression. And so you'll have another opportunity. You haven't been globally exposed to everybody that you want to impress. Sometimes you have to go to those customers that you left a bad impression with and just say, hey, can we please have another shot at this? So what other questions do you have? Name of your business? My business is Intentional Leadership Company. Bonnie, knowing who you are is key. You have a healthy process for that. I have to think about that one, Bonnie. That's a big question. Eleni says, how do you feel Periscope has affected your business? Honestly, it's too early to tell. I'm in a 30-day test. What I can tell you is I think it's given me the capability and the comfort to sit in front of video on a daily basis and talk to my tribe. I think it's going to create more connection, build more trust, and I think help me to reach more people. So we'll see. Tamara, what other platform failures have you run into? I didn't read the rest of that, but I'll tell you about some platform failures. Whenever I post on anything political, and let's be honest, I have political sentiments just like you probably do. But whenever I post on them, I can be sure I'm going to offend 50% of my audience. So every time I get tempted and post something, even in social media, it backfires. And I keep trying to learn that lesson, but I'm kind of a slow learner on this. So any other questions? How do you defeat fear in this process? And that's from Sean. Sean, I'm going to give you a recipe for defeating fear, okay? Whenever you're in the discomfort zone, you're going to feel fear, uncertainty, and doubt. You don't feel those in the comfort zone. That's why they call it the comfort zone. But if you're going to accomplish anything significant in life, anything important, you're going to get into the discomfort zone and you're going to feel those emotions, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And the best way to combat fear is take a big step in the direction of your fear. That's right. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the willingness to act in spite of it. Sarah says, Scope has allowed me to share my voice daily and has added confidence beyond measure. So true. Boy, they're going by so fast. Josh, at what point in your life did you discover your purpose in life? That is such an intelligent question. Because I don't know that there was like this moment where, I got up out of a chair after deep reflection and the angels sang and boom, my purpose was clear. It was more like a gradual thing that I continued to refine and continue to refine and continue to refine. I think I had my first sense of it when I got my first job in the book publishing world when I was 27 years old. But it took a long time. It took working in that field and figuring out what I did well and what I didn't do so well. And I'm more clear on it now than ever before. In fact, I would say my purpose is this. My purpose is to help high achievers, overwhelmed high achievers, discover the clarity, the confidence, and the tools they need to win at work and to succeed at life. So that's kind of my purpose today. Any other questions? We got about 3 minutes left. Jessica, 3 best pieces of advice you give your daughters. I could think of one. I've given them a lot of advice. But one piece of advice is this. You're not as smart as you think you are, but you have more potential than you could possibly imagine. And man, on that second one, they are proving me out over and over again. Simon Phoenix 1 gave me a thumbs up. Jamie, how do you suggest rewriting the ending when a book isn't selling as expected? I've had that experience too. You know, my first book hit the New York Times bestseller list. My second book sank without a ripple. That was right before 9/11. And it was hard. You know, I think the way you can rewrite the history is let it inform your future. You know, what did you learn from that? Nothing is wasted. I really believe that. And that really is informed by my view of the world, which includes my faith in God. But I don't believe God wastes any experience. Everything can be redeemed. Everything can be used. Everything can be used to inform my future so I make better decisions in the future. That business failure that I went through in the early 90s certainly did that. Chris, how can I help others recover from bad days? I would share this framework with them. Again, it's recognize it, reframe it, and rewrite it. But here's what's really important to do. Here's one of the best ways you can do to help people get over a bad day. I used to think if I would give them really brilliant advice, I could help them. You know what people need more than anything? And by the way, I've learned this from Brené Brown more than any other single author. You know what it is? Listen. Show empathy. I have had sessions with my, sorry, I've got to block somebody here. I had somebody, one of my daughters one time, that I sat down with who had had a really, really bad day, the breakup with a boyfriend, and she was crying, and I just listened to her. I didn't say a word. I just said, that's got to be really hard, and I just tried to show empathy. And I just listened, and I asked questions, and I tried to draw her out and let her talk it out. Gave absolutely no advice. You know what she did? I stood up. She stood up. She gave me a big hug, and she said, Dad, thank you so much. You'll never know what that's meant to me. Did I give any advice? No. I listened, and I showed empathy. Huge. Tom, does reframe mean tell it as a story of learning versus a story of failure? That's certainly part of it. That's certainly part of it, because failure isn't final. That's the thing. It's only feedback. Failure is feedback that can help inform our decisions in the future. Becky, did lack of finances ever discourage you from starting a new project? Oh my gosh. There have been times when I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. That same company that failed, when my partner and I were raising money to start that company, we were going out to investors. And we had a couple of investors really string us along. And at one point, we were sitting in Washington, D.C. We had charged the hotel to our credit cards. That's back before we discovered Dave Ramsey. And we had $13.13 in our checking account. And it would have been easy to be incredibly discouraged. But you know what? Discouragement is not a very resourceful state. It's just not. I mean, it happens. And again, we have to recognize it before we can move on from it. But it's not a very resourceful state. And I think sometimes the key is not resources. Listen to me now. I'm going to leave you with this. The key is not resources. The key is resourcefulness. Because usually when we dig, we can find that there are more resources available than we thought at first. But sometimes we have to dig for them. Listen, I hope you have a great day. If you're in the U.S., the rest of the day is Labor Day. I'm going to go out with my family. We're going to go down to my parents and have a little barbecue. I don't know what you're going to do or what part of the world you live in, but do me a favor. Make this a great day. The whole rest of the day is left. Make it a great day. Love you guys. See you tomorrow.